Yes, sir. Welcome to the A Show, episode 163. I am Justin here with my guy Meelz. This is a post-Thanksgiving episode. What's up, Meelz?
I thought we were higher than that. I'm legitimately, numbers don't even matter anymore. I feel like we should just forego episode numbers and just like the show.
The A Show star.
The A Show GX or whatever the power whatever Power Rangers season you're watching.
The A Show Wild Force. The A Show Job Force.
Imagine if every couple months we just decided to rebrand, or every year we just decided to rebrand and just like, okay, we're new host, new energy, new shit, new everything. That would be a fucking incredible and also wild.
The thing is, and I'm putting on my fan hat here with Power Rangers. If you remember, the first 3 seasons and the fourth one after that had this largely the same people every single year, and that's just not what they do in Japan with the shows they're adapting it from. So it actually makes a lot of sense that they started doing it, but with podcasts, it would be like we'd have to completely rebrand everything: new music, new segments, new everything. Well, the thing is, the conceit of Power Ranger never changes. It's literally monster of the week. Monster appears. There's a moral conundrum. They fight the monster by hand, fight him in a Zord, and beat him, and then it's over. So it could be the same thing.
It could be. Why not? I mean, we could just have we could do a video and have like Japanese people with masks forego as us while we're dubbed over their voices and they can act like they're talking. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? Did they start not using the Japanese footage anymore?
Well, what's funny with it, and I have to actually get to the HD era. I'm in 2002. I got to get to 2011. But the funny thing about this is that the HD, since there's an HD now, they're able to film it with a lot more parity to what's going on in the Japanese shows now because they're all caught up. They're never more than like 4 years older than that. Remember, Power Rangers, they were like 6, 7 years older. Now they don't go that far back. So it actually does kind of line up, but they still use that the same footage, like the repurposed footage, but it's spliced in a lot better now.
Wow, look at that. Keeping it traditional. I like it. Fuck it.
But I mean, from in space all the way up, they actually started spending money to do their own stunt work. So it's like 50-50 now instead of like 75-35 or whatever back in the day, or 75-25 back in the day.
Wow. Listen. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot. I mean, I'm halfway through Wild Force.
You're having a great time. It looks like you're having a great time.
I'm having a blast. I really am having a blast. Well, Wild Force, not so much. I'll talk about it. On
your obvious upcoming Power Ranger podcast. Obviously.
Yes. Well, I mean, I would love to do a Power Ranger podcast. I don't know if I don't know who I would do it with. I don't think Cyrus would be down for it with me. I think Cyrus is probably mad at me because I haven't watched a TNA show yet, but we're going to talk about that on the War Report this week. I'll be on the War Report this week, and we'll talk about.
You know what I like? I haven't gotten an invite on the War Report yet. That's technically incorrect. I have been invited, but I've been told I'll get an invite when Miro does something poppin', and I'm like, that could be forever.
It's looking like that's the case. Did you see the?
I did. I saw your retweets. I saw everything. I saw what the man said. I saw that he was abused in WWE. What verbiage? That's wild. That's wild to say that.
It's dangerous verbiage, especially in a culture that has been toxic for so long, and this year it finally kind of got brought to light to use that type of language. I could understand misused. That's fair. I wouldn't have argued with that. But abused, I could see if he wasn't getting paid. You know, like that's that's that is wage abuse. I can see a lot of things but it's bad. I did want to know your thoughts on that because I could agree with anyone saying, and I think I've said this on the show. I'll agree with anyone saying they misused him. They did,
Mm-hmm.
but like to say they abused him. This guy was nearly on. Like he was in a lot of big factions. He was in a lot of and I hate
Abuse
even
is a tough word. I can't even think of the ways that he's been abused. Not even like character wise, because at the end of the day, you're at the mercy of kind of whoever writes your stuff. Even in
right.
AEW, so it's not even like a like, oh, they abused him like as a person or anything. You're kind of really a performer on a show, and you're still a performer on a show in your new place. So it's kind of like weird to say abused. I wouldn't say abused. I feel like they're really trying to butter him up for whatever particular reason. And maybe they do see a lot of in Miro. I see a lot of Miro. I think he's incredibly charismatic and also very, very physical. Whether all that translate into someone who can carry a brand that still remains to be seen. But I do think that he's better than probably what WWE let on. But yeah, I mean, what the language in terms of that, man, nah, I wouldn't have used that. I wouldn't have used that at all. But kind of back to the original point, I've been waiting to get on the War Report. I think for like the past like 3 months, I've been watching AEW and I've been watching NXT, and I'm like, damn, when I'm gonna get my call up? When I'm gonna get my call up? But guess what? The call up is gonna have to wait because the challenge is back on next week, and I will not be watching
Wow.
NXT or AEW
Wow.
for the foreseeable future. I mean,
Well,
maybe I'll catch something on YouTube.
I for one am glad that you won't be watching both because I feel so betrayed
What do you
when you watch
mean?
both.
I don't have anything against AEW. I have things against the practices and the people that are there, but I like an entertaining wrestling show. Now, whether it's entertaining or not,
It ain't even that. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
it remains. But there's parts and people and all this other stuff like that. But it's interesting to kind of see the difference between both shows and watching them at the same time and where they kind of go. I would like people to remind people that AEW has one brand, and that is the brand. Whereas NXT is the third brand, and they're competing with the third brand. You see how that kind of works? Where Jim Ross will be like, "Oh, we're kicking their ass in the ratings every week." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, against their third
But
product."
yeah, but this is like and then people kind of put it out there, and I guess we can go right into NXT talk because War Games is
Oh yeah,
this
let's
week.
do that. Let's do that because I can't do it on the
Um,
War Report apparently.
and I'll leave. This will be base level thoughts. I think I'll leave the rest to
So
when
when
I'm
you're
on
on
the
the
show.
War Report this week, you're just
Yeah,
gonna throw it in
yeah.
my face.
Well, you know what? If Cyrus hears this, he should invite you on, and we'll both be on this week.
We'll
It'll be nice. It's almost the end of the year. I don't see why we couldn't both be on.
We'll see what happens. The challenge is looming. I'm just saying that the
My God.
challenge
Okay,
is
so
looming. It's a challenge is coming back pretty soon. So for all the fans of that show who like listen to me free think on that show, it'll be back. So I might not even
I
have
want to.
time
I
to
want to
do
be on
it.
that show. I want to be on that show.
You sure?
Yeah, I want to be on the challenge. I'll watch it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. We'll see. But NXT War Games this week. Let's run through the card really, really quick before we get into the rest of No Holds Barred. 4 matches so far. It looks like it's probably going to stay that way, and that's fine. It doesn't need to be anything more than that because I think both War Games should take. Actually, no, they might add one more. 5 seems even, right? For an
Five, it
NXT.
seems to be like you can kick off the show. I don't like the idea of them kicking off the show with a War Games match, but it might happen.
They did it last.
You at least have some buffer. I think you have a strong buffer, and you give an opportunity to someone. I don't say you're putting Finn on the show because it doesn't look like Finn's back on the show. I think the whole Finn return a couple of weeks ago was a smokescreen just for Undisputed Era to come back because I was
Yeah,
like,
it was to get them on the show so they didn't have to strip them of the title or people asked for them to strip them of the title or something like that. It
I
was
think
to
it
be
was
like
just for the ratings to pull people in. I think it was like, oh, Finn's back, and then really it's Undisputed Era in the overrun of the show. Like that's what my thoughts were, because
that's cool. Yeah, I think that's true as well.
he was brought back and they didn't really do anything, and he didn't really even say anything. So it's kind of like I was like, what? That's cool, but give it to somebody else. Give it to Kushida or something. He's been kicking ass, man. If they do a fifth match at least or something along those lines.
I mean, would you want to build that? I just wait.
Don't give it to Ciampa. He doesn't need it.
Do that on New Year's.
Mm.
That could be the New Year's or the Christmas show. Remember last year they had like they did nothing. Remember that weird period last year on Wednesdays where it was like AEW was just like not airing, or were they not airing? Or were they airing like clip shows?
I think they were airing clip shows, which I think NXT might. Actually, they don't have to, actually, because Christmas, I think, is on Fridays. Christmas and New Year are on Fridays this year, which is tough for the SmackDown.
They did it. What they did that before? Like what, 3 years ago? Remember we had that big like
Big Dog
this
ain't
was like
working Christmas. Big Dog ain't working Christmas.
This was the beginning of like the super woke. We gotta care about every single thing. Like they were like, yo, how dare they make them work on Christmas? I was like, bruh,
But that's only because they normally tape shows for Christmas, so they were making them work live on Christmas.
They've worked. I'm pretty sure I could find a time where they've done a live event or they've done some type of show on Christmas.
I promise you that they haven't. If it's been days before Christmas, but actually on Christmas Day, I'm almost sure they've always taped the show.
We'll see. We'll study that.
Yeah, but that's just what it is. But who knows?
Let's get into War Games. 4 matches. I think a fifth. If there was a fifth, there'd probably be a cruiserweight match anyway, which I wouldn't be opposed to. I think Phantasma. I think Santos Escobar is doing a great job. First up, we have Dexter Lumis, Cameron Grimes in a strap match. We have Leon Ruff versus Johnny Gargano versus Damian Priest in a triple threat match for the NXT North American Championship. I really like this story.
I like it too. First of all, congrats to Leon Ruff for getting engaged to, Aja, female referee in both NXT and WWE. What a power couple they are right now. Listen, you said it yourself. Man got the bag and just said, you know what? Get engaged.
Anytime you know this, because the thing that's funny is that the Rascals who are in Impact, they're coming to NXT. That is the prevailing rumor. It's looking to be true now. But one of the guys,
match, yeah.
One of the guys got engaged like 3-4 days ago, and I was like, oh yeah, he's coming to NXT.
Oh yeah, of course. The bag, the check cleared.
It's engagement. If you don't have a girl, you get a car.
Or he cashed out on his annual and sick leave and in Impact, and you're like, oh, here's a lump sum. We're not gonna. These just don't go nowhere. And he's like, oh, word, crazy.
But I'm enjoying this storyline because man, I gotta say, like right now, I know you're not like the hugest fan of his heel turn, but like Johnny Gargano this year has been kind of like the utility guy. They plugged him into places where he's been needed to enhance storylines and to kind of expand and make other guys look better. And I think he's made Leon and Damian look really great over the past couple of months.
Which I am 100% fine with. Him just being the focal, still the heel turn never made sense to me, but I get the way it is. But it still seems like I'm still meh on it. But I like him in this role, at least a little bit better than whatever the hell he was doing before with Ciampa and stuff.
Yeah, for me, he's always prevailed over Ciampa because Ciampa can only play one guy, you know, and that is the guy he's playing on TV right now. They turned him into a face again, which is like, okay, what was the point of him being heel again? Oh, I guess it was just to get that match over to get the belt onto Finn that time, but I like this storyline a lot. I think this match is going to be crazy. The War Games matches look really great as well. Of course, you have Undisputed Era versus Pat McAfee's team. They need a name ASAP.
I think they do have a name.
What's their name?
I forgot. I'm pretty sure they have a name now. I feel like they had a name. Maybe I said, why did I Wikipedia Pat McAfee? Now I'm looking at football stats. The name for this thing is, I don't know why it would be on Wikipedia either. Now that I think about it. I'll get back to you on it.
All right. That's going to be crazy. I think Pat McAfee he's going to kill himself to get this over. And I can't wait to see it. Then you have Team Shotzi versus Team Candice in the War Games match. Of course, Team Shotzi is Shotzi Blackheart, Ember Moon, Rhea Ripley, and TBA.
They're called the Kings.
The Kings. Okay.
Well, no.
Inspired. Very inspired. But of course you have them against Team Candice LeRae, Dakota Kai, Raquel Gonzalez, and Toni Storm, who was newly heel as of a week ago. Obviously, it's looking like Io Shirai is going to join.
I don't know whether I'll be on the show this week or not, but I'm not a fan of Toni Storm's heel turn either. It looked like she came to work and they told her, you're turning heel today. And she was just like, word?
Well, I think the idea here is that before COVID, in NXT UK, it was trending towards Tony doing the same thing. Of course, she had that I Quit match with Kaylee Ray. It would have made a lot more sense there. I will agree with that because Piper Niven seems to be the one that they are kind of going for being the top face right now, which makes sense. I think that makes sense there. With here, it makes sense and then it doesn't because with Tony to going heel, you kind of lose another baby face unless you're going to put Shotzi or Rhea in that moment. Because my thing is until Io loses that belt, those women can't be pushed above her and they're just not going to be, as you can see.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
the idea here is that I do believe Shotzi's up next. I do
do.
think
I
she's up
agree.
next.
I agree.
But I think that because Io's there, then you have such a log jam that you gotta turn somebody because you're not gonna turn any of the women right now. And they could have did it with Rhea. I understand why they don't want her to turn heel right now, and they're just not gonna do it. So I see arguments on both sides. I
Yeah,
do.
yeah, I agree.
But it looks like a great card. We're going to talk about more about it on the War Report this week. Make sure you check it out. Me and Cyrus. Let's get deeper into No Holds Barred here. Liv Morgan documentary. I have not watched it yet. I haven't watched it. I'm so sorry. I feel
What is
terrible.
wrong with you? I told you to watch it. I told you to watch it. I 100% said you need to watch this. And what did you watch today?
What did I watch today? I watched a bunch of Power Rangers retrospective videos. I played some PS4. I didn't watch it. Sorry.
Everything except Liv. You know, you got to support these people or else people won't put them on the show. Anyway. Okay.
I'm not living forever, I guess.
No, you're not living for the moment, obviously.
So it's good. I saw someone say, this is just more proof that WWE failed Liv Morgan more than anything. And I saw other people say it's a fascinating look into the way the creative is done there and how, you just got to be ready whenever it's time.
It is. I think it's a little bit of both, believe it or not. I think I think the people who are in Liv's corner are probably the most surprising. And one of them that speaks very highly and who's probably on the dock himself is Paul Heyman, who recants his time, and he was the executive director of Monday Night Raw, and saying pretty much the reason why he chose Liv to be on the show because Liv kind of represents he compared it to his daughter in a sense of just like someone who doesn't want to be placed in a box. And I don't know why you're always trying to define me or something. And that's with a lot of, I guess, the, millennial Gen Z kind of crowd. And he believes that Liv Morgan is kind of the same thing. You can't really place her in a box, nor should you. She kind of exists and she kind of, it's a journey of a girl who's finding herself as she continues to mature and all this other stuff. But at the same time, you can't really put her in a box. But at the same time, she's got also this look that's very like alluring and like you don't really want to take your eyes off her. And she's growing itself. I think in the documentary itself, the way it's presented, because they decided it wasn't like the regular documentary where they're like, oh, we're, plane trip something. They make sure to showcase in a very distinct kind of way, in like a kind of teen movie type of atmosphere where they have the little voiceovers and they have a little bit of effects and all this other stuff like that, which I thought was really, really cool and really original for Liv. And you get to see how she came up with her family. She was very, very poor, but grew up a wrestling fan, beyond, believe it or not.
Don't spoil it for me. Don't spoil it.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right. So, yeah. You show how you grew up. You show kind of the moments leading into probably one of the most pivotal moments is the moment that the thing that we talked about actually at the end of last year, the last Raw of 2019, where she shows up as Lana's thing, and kind of like how all that went down and kind of how everything moved forward with that. So
I want to see that. I do want to see that.
It's a good doc. It's a good doc. It's really, really good.
I thought that it was interesting that Sami Zayn had vouched for her on Twitter and said he was originally kind of pushing for her to be part of his stable as well. A lot of people wanted to work with Liv, and I think that's really dope that he actually came out and advocated for her so heavily.
I agree. And I think, my only qualm with her, and it's not even really with her, but I guess the people who kind of like champion her, is that give it time. give it time. We all love Liv, but at the same time, you got to give it time. It's not like you're begging for these opportunities and stuff. And they did make note that she was off television. She was drafted to SmackDown, I think, in 2019, and was off television for 13 weeks
Yeah.
for no reason. But you got to give it time, and I think once you continue to give it time, and once she gets the opportunity, she's gonna really show out. So I'll say that, give her time. She's a good one.
Yeah. In some sad or happy news, maybe. Next up on No Holds Barred, Braun Strowman out with a knee injury, throwing the final couple of weeks of 2020 plans for Raw into disarray. As we saw, really on Monday night, a lot of things seemingly changed. Not a lot of things that we could probably see. I mean, a lot of things we could probably guess have changed, but a lot of things that we probably, I mean, probably wouldn't even notice a lot of them. There was a report coming out of Fightful that Raw, the script for it was turned in 25 minutes before the show actually started, which seems to be part of the course for that show anyway. But yeah, he's injured and now he is not going to be able to wrestle for quite some time. It's a pretty bad knee injury. Meelz, how does this shake up Raw? Does it make it better or not? I know we had a conversation about this on I think Friday, but I honestly think this kind of again opens up the air for Raw to showcase some new people and have some like different matchups.
I think it. I think it probably, honestly, from a Braun perspective, he probably dodged the bullet, which is a weird thing to say if you were entering a world championship program. However, I think they haven't done the necessary job to rehab Braun Strowman as a character over the last number of weeks, especially since the demoralizing back-to-back losses with Bray Wyatt and Roman Reigns. I think just overall as a character, his stock actually decreased when he was world champion. It became not as fun to cheer or look forward to Braun or anything like that. And now you have him in this heel role where it's kind of like, yeah, you boo him, but where does the character go and what is the character really doing now? And I think it dodged a bullet because I think people would have completely been against and what they had planned. We talked about it last week. It was originally we expected a fatal four-way with Braun showing up and then winning the entire deal. However, I think if that had happened, I think people would have shit all over it. And it would have been even worse for Raw. I think he dodged a bullet because he needs kind of a time. I think he needs time away to really his character to be kind of refreshed and kind of like take a breather. People need to stop seeing you for a while. When they see you, maybe it'll matter again, and hopefully get a reset on his character. I personally don't like Braun in the role that he is in right now. I think he's a big stupid dumbhead. And
Yeah,
it's
I do too. I mean, we'll talk more about it on Raw, but yeah, it's really shitty news for him. It seems like he, every time he's about to start up, it kind of he slows down again, or COVID hits or something like that. Like it's just never seems to be the right time for him. But like I said last week, like I wouldn't have minded the match with him and Drew. I just know the creative leading up to it. Like you said, we were going to shit all over it. There was
yeah,
just no way
yeah.
that we weren't. But nothing against him. It's just that we know the creator wasn't gonna do him any favors.
And I also
Um,
think it's from him as a character as well. When you look at him compared to who is the number one contender is AJ Styles. AJ Styles is going to put a lot into making this a feud, a
right.
program. And I don't know if Braun Strowman necessarily does that. Maybe he leans in a little bit of doubt for Drew. But at the end of the day, because Braun Strowman is Braun Strowman and the hierarchy and kind of everything like that, the doubt isn't really there. At the end of the day,
Yeah.
Drew is going to kick the shit out of him and win that championship. So, you know,
Next up on No Holds Barred, Kenny Omega's doing the rounds. He did a new interview with Forbes magazine,
mm,
talking about Winter is
great
Coming,
wrestling
which is
publication Forbes, of course. Yes.
he went on there talking about Winter is Coming and really just talking about the first year of AEW and how he thought about where the company was headed and his new his new singles departure after departing from Adam Page and winning the tournament to face John Moxley this week. He did, however, talk a little bit about WWE here, talking about he will be open to a talent swap with WWE and also
Sorry.
who he wants to work with. That comment is like the most like banging on the window, like help
You know
me.
what it is though? It's clear what that comment signifies to me is he has it's clear he has a completely different outlook from the rest of the
Yes,
EVPs.
yes, absolutely. He
And
absolutely. I
that may
think.
be the reason why he ends up trailing off one day
Yep.
if that does
I
happen.
and I want to and this is why we are brothers, because I had the exact same thought. You know what I'm saying? I was like, bro, like think about if someone else was asked that question. They would Jericho would say something, Cody would say something, the Bucks would say something completely like in line with that. Kenny's the only person that never really jumps into that beef shit.
Yeah.
He never he absolutely never does it. But
I
as far
think if you talk to Jericho, the Bucks, or Cody, they would have said we have better talent than WWE. So why do we even have to swap? Like,
yep.
whereas Kenny Omega is just like, I mean, maybe it's because, I mean, outside of the Bucks, I guess he's the one who hasn't really worked in the WWE, so he doesn't
Or
have
in America. Or really in America like that.
right. So he doesn't have the jaded kind of outlook. I mean, he did work in WWE for a short time. I mean, in developmental, but he didn't really have the like full experience per se. But yeah, I mean, continue. I think it's a telltale sign of like what his whole mindset is.
Absolutely. But as far as who he wanted to work with, he says AJ Styles, The New Day, and Seth Rollins. He says, I get compared a lot to Seth Rollins. Seth is a great wrestler, and I think we could have some really great matches together. I just want to work with good people, not good people in the sense that they're only talented in ring, but people who are genuinely good dudes who the fans will want to see me wrestle. At the end of the day, I just want to wrestle the opponents who would make the fans most excited, because that's all it's really about. I like that quote.
I like it too. I mean, they doesn't really need to be the whole aggro. Uh, we are better. We don't need to. I don't need to. Like clearly, he would like to wrestle. He's a wrestler's wrestler, and clearly, he would like to wrestle a lot of the talent that's in WWE because he hasn't wrestled them ever.
Ever. And he has a really good relationship with the New Day guys, specifically Xavier or Austin Creed, however you want to say it. Who again, congratulations to Austin Creed. I forgot to put this on the notes, but congratulations to him for his G4 hosting gig. G4's return is coming imminently, and I mean, there was nobody really to me
Right.
that would have been better for the role than him. But I don't want to make too much of the Kenny comments because it makes people upset. But I do want to say that I'm more inclined to believe that Kenny would really have good matches with people that we wouldn't think he'd have good matches with, right? Like I want to see Kenny and Braun. I don't want to see Kenny and Corbin. I think that Kenny with guys that are outside of the what people would think normally, they usually have the best matches. I think that when you give those guys a great ring general like Kenny, that they usually perform at a higher level. So like I would want to see him with people that like aren't the work rate guys. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like I want to see him with like the entertainment guys and see what he
And I
makes.
think that's what WWE at least has seen in him, which is why they've approached him with so many offers over the last like 5 years, 6 years, et cetera, et cetera. Because they do see that in him. They see him as a guy who can elevate, someone who's a ring general in the ring, a veteran, someone who has, since he's departed their developmental center, has just blossomed into a star and be able to make his own star and at least has a name on himself, and who could just deliver in the ring and not only make him, other people look good, but make himself look good. And I think that's kind of what WWE is trying to provide over the last number of years, especially with a lot of signings they've had recently. So when does this when does this thing expire?
That's what I was saying. When is it up? When is it up? I want to see. We've always wanted to see it. I know like right now it just seems like such a distant memory. I know he's only getting older, but I want to see that. I would love to see Kenny Omega work with some of the guys. Listen, man, Kenny Omega, Rey Mysterio. Kenny Omega. Who else? Like you could do Gulak, you could do Kenny Omega, Alistair. You could do. I mean, why are we forgetting this? Kenny Omega, Roman
Yeah,
Reigns. Do that too. Kenny Omega, Drew McIntyre. Come
there you
on.
go.
Who says
There
no?
you go.
Who says no? Who says no? But I do think I think Seth would give him a hell of a match. And the thing is, Meelz, I think that's who they'd give him first, because Seth seems to be the guy that they pit everyone against.
Yeah, and I think
So
he's just a natural foil when you look at a Kenny Omega and kind of like who's really, I guess, running the show from that type of cloth in terms of the character, wrestler, everything kind of checks all boxes type of thing. So I think it's definitely Kenny Omega versus Miz. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? It's just, a match.
Now from that, we got to get, we go from complete happiness to complete seriousness.
If I can be serious for a minute without being interrupted.
All right. This week's sorry if this offends. I want to keep it short here. It's post-holiday. I know people are full from turkey and ham and whatever you ate.
If you still eat turkey and ham, I don't know what's wrong with you, brother. Throw it out. It is done.
Talk to Mark. Because he said something yesterday that had me confused. Mark said he was taking out the mac and cheese. I said, all right.
He said he breaking the plies rule. I was like, you better put that. Man.
Boy, come on now. So this week, or today rather, I had a sorry if this offends, and I threw it out because I saw something that was really funny to me, and we spoke about it a couple weeks ago. But it's about our, the idea that we're not keeping the same energy, right? So a couple of months ago, really weeks ago, anytime this particular person would show up on Raw or SmackDown or anything, people would recoil in disgust. They would be very upset. This guy I'm talking about is Riddle. Just disgust.
Okay.
So one thing I've noticed, Meelz, that since he's been pushed, a lot of people that conversation has quieted, which is something I expected. So literally, I know this character, and we'll talk about his character a little bit later on Raw. It is the stoner, annoying guy. They're laying it on very thick that he is someone who is aloof, but building his story from a very ground up level instead of, say, NXT, which they had to completely redo him like 2 or 3 times to get there, which I get. I understand it. But now people are openly, and these are the same people that were openly revolted at this guy for a lot of the allegations that he's still going to court for, him and the WWE going to court for, because his character is stupid and they should do his character better. Now, I asked you, Meelz, should they take him off TV? I thought that was the thing. Or do you want a better character? Was that the thing? Or which one is it? Because you got to keep the same energy. If you didn't give a shit about him a month ago because of all the stuff going on, why do you care? But why don't you just turn the segment? Why are you still watching when he's on TV?
So
I don't understand. I just really don't understand is it hypocrisy? Like I don't get it.
So I would like to probably say in terms of this, I think the solution is similar to one that we kind of came to a couple weeks ago. And I don't want to completely there's still allegations that are going on. There's still very serious things. It was part of a very serious kind of speaking out movement. So I don't want to downplay any of that. However, I think it came to something that we kind of reached a couple of weeks ago where we're just like, okay, we're going to make the decision to at least watch and critique this as much as they put it on Raw. And yeah, we do hold WWE to sort of standard of like, okay, if something is figured out or something goes somewhere or something like that, it's your job. It's your job to pull the plug. Like, we're going to hold them accountable in terms of what they kind of do. But at the end of the day, realize as a company, they're going to do whatever they want to do at the end of the day. And we have a show. Matt Riddle is heavily involved in these shows, so we kind of watch. And I think that's generally the same thing that's happening with a lot of people. You can't watch Monday Night Raw without, bumping into Matt Riddle. If you're jumping around television, you can 100% do that. However, he's very much so intertwined with the show, and I think that's mainly because they're giving him a push, which is weird at this certain time. However, they're very high on him as a character and his abilities in the ring. I think
we knew he was. We knew he was going to.
Yeah, but I don't. I feel like there it isn't sort of hypocrisy for, judging him as a character, because I feel like we're legitimately just at the same time right now. I think we're deciding what's our threshold of like canceled, and we decide that it hasn't passed a certain threshold yet. So people are just observing him as a character and kind of taking him as what it is right now. Or maybe I'm misunderstanding what you're saying, but I think
I think that in a lot of ways, and I get what you're saying, like judging it as a character, but there are certain people that do that and have been able to do that subjectively with him. However, like, I'm talking about there's people out there that were literally repulsed at this months ago. Now turning face and saying he would be a lot better character if he did this. So that means you're watching him?
Yeah,
I thought that.
but he's a major part of the show. I'm not gonna hold it against someone for watching the show that they continue to put in front of you, especially if it's Monday Night Raw and
Well,
you keep watching.
the deeper issue is that they keep watching Raw and they hate it.
Right.
I think that's the deeper issue for them anyway. Is that they
100%.
hate the show and they keep watching.
But we've
So,
realized there are certain points in time we could scream until we're blue in the face of what WWE should do in certain situations, and they're just going to do whatever they want to do at the end of the day. I mean, if there's a big enough stink about it in terms of if it goes into sort of a mainstream media type of thing, then they'll do something about it. But as fans ourselves, we're kind of like at the same, in the same vein as we're the lifeblood of the WWE, we're also like completely overlooked sometimes because a lot of times they're like fans don't know what the hell they want. And I think that's a situation that we're currently in right now. I think just generally people are taking it as it is for this point of time. And I'll say this, it's similar to, we talked about a little bit of canceling thing. It's the same thing with the mulatto thing that we were talking about a couple of days ago or something along those lines. People are accepting the fact that she's a rapper and she's good, even though her name's Mulatto and it's a dumb fucking name and you should change your name. And I always thought it was a stupid name. And I think people are taking that as it is, but at the same time, they're like, we don't necessarily, but you could scream till you're blue.
And to be clear, Meelz is not equating what Riddle was accused of doing to Mulatto's name.
Right. We're using it as sort of an example in terms of people's reactions, not the two characters themselves, but kind of the reaction to those characters. So yes, definitely clear it up. Thank you. But I think you could scream till you're blue in the face, and we have been for a couple of years. People have been saying like, yo, change your name. Your name is terrible. But people at the end of the day is like, fans don't know what they want. They don't listen. They're going to listen to my stuff anyway until it comes to the point. And we haven't reached the breaking point yet with Matt Riddle, I think, as of yet, because nothing has truly been decided. And a lot of things are kind of still up in the air. It's still very, very murky. He has admitted
legally?
Yeah, legally. Yeah. So he has admitted to doing wrong within his own marriage, but he hasn't really, in terms of the actual allegation itself, nothing has been. I think everyone wants to kind of see the evidence that's placed in front of them. But I think you're going to hit a wall eventually where, and it hasn't hit there. And for some reason, it hasn't hit with the Velveteen Dream thing as well. And I think it's mostly mainstream thing, which is the same wall, I think, still comparing to the Mulatto thing. I think she will hit as well when she decides there are going to be doors slammed in her face because of her name, as opposed.
Yeah, Mulatto can reach mainstream a lot quicker than these speaking out issue will, which is a shame in a lot of ways because, but this isn't an apples to apples comparison, but I think that, a lot of ways, yes, absolutely. I'm not mad at people judging what his character is. I'm more like seriously about like trying to figure out, okay, so like I get you're making this, but is this you? You know what I'm saying? Like this was you a couple months ago. And it was like, taking a stand. Oh, I'm turning the TV. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. But you're still watching. Like I just think it's funny that people go to that, and then judge his character when it's like, okay, like I don't think that your comments aren't valid. I don't agree with a lot of them, but it's like, a lot of people were not keeping that same energy, and that's why I wanted to be a little bit serious about this issue. We'll talk more about it after the break.
Yeah, I just think the last thing, I just think the threshold hasn't been reached as of yet. And we've seen it before with kind of how these things play out, where a threshold is reached where people just decide they're completely against it and can't do it anymore. And we haven't reached there yet, or everyone is willingly ignoring it.
Yeah. We're going to talk about Riddle in a little bit. After the break, we're going to talk about SmackDown and Raw, the post-Survivor Series episodes of both after the break. Stay tuned.
How do your sons look at you? How does our entire family look at you? Is that how you look at me? To you, in your eyes, do you look at me like I'm some locker room begging for Thanksgiving leftovers? Is that who I am to you? Is that how you feel about me? Because that's how you are making me feel through your failures. And I don't like the way you are making me feel.
Meelz, were you begging for leftovers?
No, they're readily available. I don't beg for leftovers. I don't. I was about to say I don't beg for anything, but that's not true.
What leftovers was Jey Uso begging for? That was a shot. I feel like somebody in a family has done that before.
Possibly. I don't know. It's a very big, complicated family, to be honest with you. But SmackDown's also
It's a little
weird. SmackDown. We're reaching a point with this program where it's like, okay,
let's talk about it.
where we're
As
going.
the Roman Reigns world turns was all through SmackDown. We are on at least month 2 of or 3 of this with Roman and Jay. I think we are nearing fatigue here unless something big happens within the next couple of weeks with this storyline. SmackDown is very, very dependent on the Roman Reigns storyline. It has a through line that goes from the top of the show through the middle of the show all the way to the end of the show every single week, with largely the same types of promos and actions done to Jey Uso or to Daniel Bryan or to Kevin Owens. This week we saw Kevin Owens enter the fray. It's going to be Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns, possibly in the main event of this show. Meelz, what do you think about just kind of like the way Jey was treated this week? His character now, which I think that they have kind of like really neutered since the people were calling him one of the best baby faces on the brand, and now it kind of looks like I don't know what they're doing with him because they're just kind of stretching it out. Like, what did you feel about it this week?
It felt, and we both share the same thought. I mean, Hell in a Cell was 5 weeks ago. So that means for 4 weeks, roughly close to 5 weeks, we've been kind of following a similar format of what we've been doing with Jey Uso and kind of how he's been treated. And normally in these type of stories, yeah, it does happen, but at least you throw a wrinkle in something. I think Kevin Owens is the wrinkle that will hopefully take us away from the whole Jey Uso thing. But not take us away, but at least like we won't have to stare at it for like much longer on SmackDown at the end of the day. And that's not indicative of Jey Uso. I like Jey Uso. However, yeah,
It's too much, Jey.
it's just getting to me it's just getting kind of old, which has happened with a lot. That's why I'm not even surprised. It happens with a lot of things on WWE television. It's getting kind of old. You run it into the ground. We're in week 5 of doing the same thing. Stories aren't normally told like this.
I can't see him getting hoed out for another week and not really just showing any signs of like breaking through it and being like, what, fuck the family.
Development as a character, that's really what this is. At the end of the day, that's what this is really supposed to be about. At least the direction of the story is supposed to be development as a character, possibly Jey Uso finding his inner, strength somewhere and just being like, listen, I have to stand up for myself no matter what, no matter the family, no matter anything, blah, 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 blah. Hopefully it's trending in that direction. But wrestling doesn't come up with stories. It very rarely come up with stories with an endpoint, except if the endpoint here is The Rock. It really comes up with those.
Yeah, if that's the case, we are a long way.
Yeah,
away from
that's
Rock.
what I'm saying. It rarely comes to those full circle stories. They kind of have to like at the end of the day. And we had fun. We had a fun conversation because I was like, man, I wish sometimes I could write for WWE without all the pain that goes with it. And you'd be like, yo, you guys would get into arguments. And I'm like, yeah, I feel like I would get into arguments because there's a distinct thing. I like telling full circle stories that kind of have like somewhat, endings that are at least fulfilling or satisfying or something. Whereas truly, if you look at it, we're in the business of making television every week. So you have to provide content.
52 weeks.
52 weeks a year, which is, by the way, all the weeks in a year. There's no thing. So you have to continue to extend the story, and that's kind of where it falls apart for me. But yeah, it's too much Jey Uso. This is just not too much Jey Uso, but like too much of the same shit.
It is. I mean, the KO wrinkle, as we said, is the most interesting wrinkle in this storyline because KO is the most energized and he's been in months because, of course, he is finally in the main event program that we wanted him to be in since the top of this year, literally. But I thought he did a great job at the end of the show. I love the touch of him sitting at the top of the announce table and saying he's waiting. I think that Roman and KO have excellent chemistry, and it's been quite some years since we've seen them go against each other. So this should be really, really cool when it finally gets announced, which I'm guessing will be announced on Friday SmackDown. But next up on the show, Sami Zayn dodging another title defense against D-Bry. He seems set for a clash with Big E. Is this what you expected? I think that I think that this is what I expected the ceiling to be for Big E right now. It was IC title.
The thing is, it's so weird. I mean, I guess he did beat Daniel Bryan, so that ends that feud. But they've been given like it's been crossed. The little waves in terms of like, is Daniel Bryan working with Roman Reigns or is he working with Sami Zayn? But I think it was definitely solidified this week. It looks like it's trending in the direction of Big E, and yeah, it works. I don't know what more to. I guess it's an opportunity or something. Uh, and it's not that I'm shitting on an Intercontinental Championship. Intercontinental Championship reign is an Intercontinental Championship reign, but it kind of feels like we're going through the motions of a story of someone, I guess, who is like a new character. Big E's an established character, you know what I'm saying? Like we're treating him kind of like the new kid on the block again, which I'm sure he feels as well. And it's kind of a refresh for his character for the first time in 6 years being alone.
In order for Big E to refresh and really be new, which I see what you're saying, I do think they're gonna refresh that character because they have to. There's no way he can stick to wearing the New Day clothes. Not saying he should break away from the New Day, but he needs his own Big E branded type stuff. And if they're going to treat it that way and they're going to rebrand him, I'm all for this storyline. If they're not, then I don't see him winning it, and I don't see it working out for him in the long run with him still holding on to that characterization.
Right. No, you're right.
It's just going to be weird. I think Sammy's doing a great job as IC champion. I think, but the thing is like they have him beating all these guys, you know, not pinning them, but doing it in cheap ways so they can keep the title. But these are guys that could be being used right now. Like Apollo Crews could be being used right now. Daniel Bryan, I mean, if he's not going to be in the main event scene, what the hell is he going to be doing next week if he's not going to be going against Sami Zayn
also,
again?
we have
like,
to establish for Big E, how does he combat that? How does he... Right. He's been, for the past few weeks, beating people by count, beating people all types of ridiculous ways, and just retaining it. How does Big E decide, okay, I see you? And how does he combat that? And before it happens to him again, and he's just another person in the line. So we'll see.
Yeah. Next up on the show, we had Bianca Belair versus Natty, which is leading to a Bayley feud, which I'm excited for. All of the roll-up pins on the show, less so.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really, I got it. I wasn't really bothered by the roll-up pin because I think Natty is a character, I guess, who holds a bit of weight in the WWE, and she just doesn't, she's not I wouldn't say she's completely enhancement talent, which is why I think she gets a little bit of a rub in terms of like, okay, we can roll you up and not completely demolish you. But it worked well with the finish of the match, to be honest with you. There are two people on her ass, and she just decided the quickest way to get out the ring. What would it have looked like if she just got up and decided to deliver the burning hammer and figure that shit out? But
I think the real issue with me here is that there have been like 3 roll-ups or like a non like crappy shitty finish before that. And then on Raw, you see so many roll-up finishes, and it's like, is Vince on his thing right now where he doesn't want people hitting finishers outside of pay-per-views now? Because there was a point where he did that before. Remember the 2 out of 3 falls period a year and a half ago, where it was like roll up for the first fall and then the other fall would be the finish, like the actual finisher. Like I hope we get out of this roll up thing. I hope he gets out of this. Whoever's writing the show, this thing where everyone has to win by roll up or small packages or something like that. Because I mean, you saw, I didn't even know Jeff Hardy and Ricochet had a match on main event.
That was
and he beat
terrible.
Him. He beat him with a roll.
Here's the thing. I looked forward to it, and I actually, for the first time, has to be since main event was on the WWE Network, I actually decided, let me go and seek out main event. And then I think there was something that turned me off. Maybe it was Retribution. Yeah, it was Retribution. So Retribution kind of like, I wouldn't say they interfered, but they were a distraction in this match and became a major talking point. And then it took away from the Jeff Hardy Ricochet thing, which I just kind of wanted to see Jeff Hardy versus Ricochet, even though Jeff Hardy's old as shit. But yeah, I didn't get to enjoy it the way I did. But yeah, the roll up things definitely got to stop. I agree with you.
Yeah, it's just a lot. But I mean, we're going against the point here. Bianca seems to be going against Bailey. I think it's a great first opponent for her. Have her beat Bailey.
And I think Bailey is
you.
great in this role where she can be as ridiculous as she wants and still work with great talent. I think she's getting the best of both worlds in this situation.
Man, Murphy and the Mysterios, and now Baron Corbin. If you could have seen my face,
you knew it was coming though.
When I saw this.
I feel like you knew. I feel like all right. So we were thinking like, what's next? What's next for this entire thing? And to be honest with you, if I'm booking the show, which I would like to, I got to do a Meelz booking episode one day. One day when we have I guess this week would have been a thing because I think both shows are mid, but I got to do a Meelz booking thing where I rebook the entire show. But he seems like the next guy who's like, okay, you want to put over a despicable guy versus a charming family. Baron Corbin's your man. And I think personally, Mysterio should be in the tag title hunt. Tag team scene on SmackDown, dilapidated.
Yes. What are they doing with Profits? What are we doing here? What are we doing with Robert Reed and Ziggler here?
Very dilapidated. I think Mysterio, Ray, and his son Dominic should be, going for the tag titles. I think either Murphy should be bringing up the rear at some points and also fending off other people at other points. I think that's what should be happening. But Murphy versus Corbin, I don't even know what to say.
Roll up win. You can't just beat him with a finish. Any finish. Beat him with a knee.
Nah.
Come on, man. Do something. That was SmackDown. I thought it was a weak show.
I agree.
You want to do Raw?
I have a choice.
I mean, you could. I was gonna let you.
Okay, yeah, handle Raw. I like handling SmackDown, but all right, we'll handle Raw. Okay, so Monday Night Raw. Monday night, I like SmackDown better. Monday Night Raw, especially considering how much of a disdain I have for Raw, and that only continued this week, despite the sort of major attractions that they had here. We had the number one contenders match. We had 3 matches last week. We got to I like to say this # sudden death triple threat match. What was that about? Isn't the idea of triple threat one pinfall, sudden death?
It wasn't a sudden death one either. That would have only worked if every single match of those 3 guys got into last week ended in a draw. It's not sudden
There's
death.
nothing sudden or death or no. It was just.
They didn't. Just from the definition of the term, it just wasn't it. That's not. They didn't face each other last week. None of them faced each other last week. That would have worked if last week
they all faced each other in separate matches in some sort of combination, and neither led to a distinct.
Or it was like a beat the clock challenge, and none of them beat the clock. That would have been sudden death. This is literally like just a triple threat match that they needed to add the word to make it sound important.
Well, listen, we got the triple threat match anyway. I would say probably the only part of Raw, if I had booked the show, I wouldn't have changed, only because you set it up last week. But AJ Styles is the winner of this match. He comes out the victor. He is the new number one contender for the WWE Championship against Drew McIntyre. How are we feeling? I mean, how did you feel, Justin, about the match in general, and how do you feel about AJ Styles as the victor in this one?
I thought the match was really good. I thought, again, when you space out the Keith Lee outrageous shit, like him doing like the jumps and all that stuff, and you do it for like important matches like this, it tends to look better. And you do all the crazy, like Keith Lee using Matt Riddle as a weapon, all that stuff. It looks better. I think that they both, all 3 of these guys excel in multi-man matches. I think if you're not going to do Braun, you're not going to go Riddle in a title match right now. You're not going to do Keith Lee in a title match right now.
They could have. I wouldn't have been.
They could have. I think that Keith has a legitimate argument to actually be in a title picture. I agree. Now. Like
honestly, I think any of those 3 would have worked because I think TLC is such a low stakes pay per view. This match, the TLC is kind of like, all right, let's wrap this shit up.
But you know, like in order to legitimize the second reign for Drew, he's coming off of a loss to Roman Reigns a couple weeks ago. You do AJ, he's the tried and
He
true
beat him in the
guy.
first reign.
They trust him. But I mean, he didn't have the big guy with him.
That's
this
true.
time.
Which they gave a
So
name,
like,
by the way.
you got to, yeah. He also told the guy not to talk, which I was just like, I got to chill with the dialogue he has to him. It reads
AJ pays him the big bucks, man.
Yeah, it was kind of weird, but I think if and I absolutely agree. You know, any of these guys would have worked, but I think if you're going to go for the safe option is AJ Styles. Riddle ends up getting his program afterwards, and I think Keith Lee's going to stay in the orbit of Sheamus and Drew. So I guess that's fine for all parties involved. So I'd say a pretty good segment. I thought it hit the marks well and sent off every other guy into their own direction. Now Riddle, we got to talk about the character. Do you hate it?
It's a bit obnoxious.
I'm just like, he's obnoxious, but he's Sami Zayn obnoxious, and that's what it reminded me of.
He's a little bit, they're doing a little bit too much. That's what you call doing too much. Like, we're trying to get over this character, but like now he's talking to people for what reason? I guess they were doing, now it makes sense this week because it looks like he's heading into that Hurt Business feud with Bobby Lashley. So now it makes sense for him harassing MVP last week about, I don't even know what the hell he was talking about last week. Or this
businesses, different businesses.
Yeah, for sure. So now it kind of makes sense this week, but it's a little bit, you're doing a little bit, he stopped to both, besides running into MVP and Bobby Lashley, he also ran into Keith and he also ran into AJ and he was talking about him, talking about random shit. It was like, all right, relax, you're doing a lot. Yes, we get he's a stoner idiot type of person, but
reminds me of like this is in no way apples to apples comparison, like how obnoxious like the old Edge and Christian stuff was, and how much better this would work if Riddle had a foil to work off of instead of it just being him. He's not the greatest talker. I get the, oh man, that'd be great, right? Like
who could fit the role?
They should have kept Sarah Logan. She got that hair. She looked like one of them.
Sarah Logan, they don't have the same. They're from two different regions. They don't have the same dialect. They don't have. I couldn't believe the conversation.
I mean, hell, Dana Brooke. I mean, we'll talk about her in a second, but she could have been in.
Dana Brooke would be a try-hard in that role, and I would be disgusted at it. She'd be like, "No, bro," like, and I'd be like,
"Well, what? Who could it? What guy could it
figure out? Who has enough of a?
Oh, Gulak
would be cool.
You catch point. They were already in a stable and evolved anyway.
I'm trying to think of like another stoner guy. Obviously, the thing, the go-to, the easy go-to with Matt Riddle is someone straight-faced who plays off of him. That's the easy thing. But to bring another guy who's just as ridiculous as him.
But it's a guy that could be obnoxious with him, and maybe I'm like positioning a Riddle heel turn here, but it could be someone who kind of accompanies him to matches and stuff like that. Because the thing is with the E is that like it's not enough that you just have great matches. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, Riddle can do that, and he's proven it even with the silly character. It's got to be the character too. I saw people saying like they should be doing he doesn't care until it's time for him to get into the ring. It's just like they tried that. It wasn't really working. It didn't really work in NXT either. You know, they're not going to retread that. I think he's largely playing like the same obnoxious guy he was in NXT anyway. And it's the same one that had Thatcher wanting to beat the shit out of him. So like, I don't get what the issue is. He's always been this annoying character.
I can see R-Truth, maybe. Who knows?
Oh, R-Truth.
R-Truth could do anything. Let's get to the next point of the show. With that, you have the number one contender, AJ Styles, who will face Drew McIntyre at TLC, and I guess it led to a main event. All right, so it led to the main event. I know this is not our thing, but it was just one of the only points that kind of made sense on the show that I really didn't like, of AJ Styles agreeing to like, yeah, I'll help you cash in the contract because it's easier to beat you than it is to beat Drew. And I was like, that's fire. Until it was 10:58, and I realized that none of this was going to go according to plan. And it was just like, all right, whatever. But you know what? End the show, end of Raw. I hope they continue to play it up. Let's get into
my issue here with that is that the briefcase has been around too long. It has been around for way too long this year. We are nearing. We're over half of a year of this briefcase being in action. So
I mean, you still got till after
get to it.
Mania. You could still catch it in after Mania.
I know, but Meelz, like that being a storyline thread really stops up a lot of things. Like that, the threat of being cashed in on has been the threat since Raw drafted a couple months ago.
I mean, I'm not mad at it. It's
tired.
So if you're gonna, I'm not the person who's going to be like, yeah, that's right. Randy Orton and Alexa Bliss. Randy Orton was on a moment of bliss at the kickoff of Raw. Awkward segment. I was half in tune, half really not, until they reached the point where the Fiend was coming up and Alexa or Randy picks up Alexa, or does she jump into his hand? It wasn't really explained.
And then I mean, Randy pretty much hit the.
You're fine.
Get that.
Real.
Then he handed her off. I was just like, what is the you know what I enjoy about this? Randy is completely into this shit. He really loves this type of shit.
I agree, but what is the roles in this? Is Fiend the heel? Is Randy Orton the face? I know they want Randy Orton to be the heel, but he doesn't really seem like the heel in this.
Yeah, it is. I don't know what it is. I think that Randy is completely cool with it. Like, you can just see it in his face. Like, he's fucking eating this up. And I think that he thinks it's really cool. And you know what? I've seen like a lot of like people who work at WWE really, really love Bray and The Fiend. Like Taker, it was like overwhelmingly positive towards him this month. And Randy Orton seems to be the same way right now. Like, they're really into this character. And that makes, you know, once you see how people love it, you seem to understand why he gets pushed so heavily. Because like, regardless of what goes on in the ring, they love it.
Because you know you're going to tell a story at the end of the day. You know you're getting time. You know you're getting a story. You know you're getting everything from that. You're not really going to get that with like even Mustafa Ali at this point. I mean, damn. I mean, it happened. It was the beginning of the Raw. They didn't really kind of go back to it, which is weird on a 3-hour show where they go back to everything on this show. Yeah. They didn't really go back to it.
He went home.
He just went home after that. All right, so I have to talk to you about this point because you put a point on this list that said Cedric Alexander needs to relax. Dive into this for me. Explain this for me.
He was wilding. Like how he beat Xavier Woods and start talking about I run Raw. I'm like, talking about Raw is mine. I'm like, who are? Last time MVP was like, is this nigga serious?
That's funny as fuck.
It's like, what is wrong? He was like, what is wrong with this
nigga? He's juiced up now, man. Listen, he's not cruiserweight no more. You can see it. He's a little bit heavier now. He's not cruiserweight steady anymore.
That's Thanksgiving. That's Thanksgiving.
Got him extra plate. Big swole with the plates.
You know why else he was? You know why else he was green? Because he said you may have pinned Shelton, but I ain't Shelton. And I said, wait a minute, what's going on?
He said that?
Yes.
Oh my god, I wasn't paying attention. Oh.
He said you may have pinned Shelton, but I ain't Shelton Benjamin. And I was just like,
Shelton Benjamin with a freshly tailored suit, who came for the first time in a tailored suit.
I was like, bro, like, can we like really give Cedric like what is to come from this? Like, if he is to be the brash, I guess, rock figure in this group, what does that lead him to? Because I don't really know where he goes after this.
Team YN.
If that's the case,
Team YN, I would go.
TYN.
Yeah.
I just thought it was really interesting that they're starting to do this. But you know, with the Hurt Business, they've booked them so crazily where they never lose. They're always protected. I thought it was really interesting. Well, not like never lose, but like they never are made to
last week.
But I'm telling you, they're never made to. Well, they're starting to lose Meelz, but it's like, you know, like they're never made to look stupid often. Yeah. So like for him to be doing that now, I think is interesting. I'm like, are they going to pull a breakup angle, or are they going to pull a Cedric?
Look a lot more stupid than they've looked. I truly believe it's the influence of MVP in terms of a lot of the things that they do is the reason why they don't look like complete dumbasses every week.
Even if you know it's not a breakup, I think that like there's definitely. Because I mean, I'll be clear. Like, I think Bobby's not long for that U.S. title. I think he's been hogging that for way too long with like no challenges whatsoever. I think the real money feud to me for that title is like Riddle versus Keith Lee. To me, I think that's like
There's
real
no money feud for that title.
banger.
They have just that title is like
Well, it's a money feud. I'll
Okay.
say that it's a
Yeah.
money feud.
Oh yeah, I'll say so. I agree. Can we talk about how Jeff Hardy
But
died this week?
Bro, what the hell is wrong with him?
Jeff Hardy.
Well, let me be clear. I like the Symphony of Destruction matches. I've liked every single one of them, and I like this one.
I
it was
am
good.
either or. It kind of depends who's in the match for me.
When he shocked himself on the speaker.
How do you do that?
Well, they can't. Well, I get why they had to do it with the wooden. Hold on. I get why they had to do it with the wooden thing, because you can't actually, for one, in standards and practices, you can't actually have someone doing that and showing kids that on TV. Two, they don't actually want Elias to die, so I get the look of it. Like they don't like, because even if you do use a real metal object, there's no way to pop those sparks and not something crazy go on. You know what I'm saying? Like
I don't even think it was plugged in, but it should go off. Go off. I mean, whatever, man. Jeff Hardy.
I fuck with it. All the Elias matches should be Symphony of Destruction matches. With the
just like is this ECW Extreme Rules ass match? It's just like, yo, Symphony. But Jeff Hardy, who places a table precariously by the steel steps. What is it with the Hardys and jumping off of things this year? Not sure. He jumps off to do the Swanton Bomb. Luckily, Elias broke his fall, and then his head hit the bottom step, because it looked crazy the first time. Like,
it still looks crazy.
Oh my god!
I thought it. I thought
you thought we lost him.
Well, you know,
you thought it was gonna be like Snoop singing. Did you watch the boxing? Did you watch?
Yeah, I watched the clips of it. I was watching Netflix when that was on. You know me, I'm different.
That's an amazing set of business. Snoop Dogg needs to and pretty much commentate full time. That was good business. And the fact that WWE hasn't used it.
I don't know why. That's what I was gonna say. I don't know why they have. I don't think they knew. I don't think they knew. Nobody knew. No, we didn't know until Saturday that he was that
white.
good.
That's why.
I'm pretty sure Triller is all white too.
Well, listen,
so.
But they knew. Nah, they had YG, they had St. John, they had Wiz, they had.
Do you think that the guys that booked that, just because they booked those guys, that they
didn't book Imagine Dragons or any of the other bullshit that they normally pick?
Triller is not an Imagine Dragons.
Of course not.
So why would they book it? There are definitely white people.
Of course. All right, whatever.
They booked Jake Paul. They booked Jake Paul. They're white.
And guess what? He knocked that motherfucker. Oh my god!
Oh my god! But yeah, I would have loved the old Lord.
We need that as a drop.
Okay, we gotta get the wrong.
Let's get okay. So boom, Reckoning debuts this week. Reckoning of Retribution.
Oh my! I hurt for her. I really do hurt for her right now. I think if you
what a pro, what a professional. What a professional. That's what I got to say about this. In the ring with Dana Brooke, by the way. I blame Dana.
I had looked down, right, to like look at Twitter really quick. And I looked up and I said, why isn't he his mask
flew off? Just flew off. By the way.
First turnbuckle of the match. It flies
By the
off.
way, it's not like, oh, we're going to put on the .com and just ignore that the mask flew off. The mask flying off on the YouTube channel was within the first 4 seconds of that clip.
Yep.
It comes right off.
You can't hide. You cannot hide it. Had she practiced with that mask on before? She had to have.
I mean, I don't know, because a lot of them, I remember specifically when Retribution was having their first matches as well, a lot of them were having trouble with the mask. And I think they end up finding a way to stabilize it, but she hasn't wrestled with the mask on, and it just flew. She needs a stronger mask. She just flew off. I mean,
well, this is what made it not so bad. In that, oh god, she lost
to Dana Brooke, by the way.
But to Dana Brooke. But Ali had some words for her afterwards, which leads me to believe that that might be breaking off soon. which is
You thought the
fine. It's
mask part was
perfect for her.
planned?
She does. No, I don't think the mask part was planned. I think that this actually makes it better because even in the thumbnail of it or some of the pictures of it, you see her without the mask on, looking dejected, and you don't get that emotion conveyed with that mask on. Frankly, she would have looked stupid with that mask on, trying to show emotion. So it actually ended up working out. Even after I laughed and after I got over the shock of her losing to Dana Brooke, I understood that there's a story that they're building, and I get it. Okay,
Hopefully, I mean,
get her out of
hopefully.
Retribution.
Retribution loses all the time. This might just be
Not lately. I mean, right before this, they beat Ricochet. Nice connection to the story.
I was shocked. It's Slapjack. We don't even know. He's like the guy who people didn't even know who he was really under the mask.
People were like, "This is not Shane Thorne. It's this guy." I was like, "Nah."
Might be. Who knows? Oh, Shane Thorne, I guess.
But I mean, the Ricochet thing, again, they're building a story here. Yes, they have Ricochet losing way too much, but again, Ricochet's look pretty good. Promo wise, I thought he cut that promo that he put on his Instagram and Twitter was really good.
Really good shit.
I thought it was really good. He has leaps and bounds improved on the mic within months. So shout out to him for actually studying his craft and getting better at it, because that was the one thing that you and I both said that he needed to work on.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely still needs a little bit more character work, but the promo was just fire. Promo was fire.
Promos are good. So good job, Ricochet. I'm not mad at you losing to Slapjack because I know it's in service of the bigger deal here, which is another match between you and Ali. So I'm cool with that. I'm less cool with Reckoning debuting and losing. I'm less cool with that.
That's sorry, Mia. We all knew it was Mia. At the end of the day, it's like, yo, you knew what it was when you signed up.
Don't ever wear the mask anymore. Fuck it.
I would say we should talk about the Ascalon thing, but I'm pretty sure they're just going to do it again next week. So maybe we talk about it next week. By the way, Lana Shayna Baszler, by the way. Welcome to the main roster.
Cool. Well, come on. I mean, Shayna literally destroyed every single person in this roster a couple months ago.
And then lost to Lana.
Literally, like within seconds. Come on.
I'm not hanging over it. It's just I thought it was I think it's funny.
They're building Lana as a baby face.
We're building Lana, by the way.
I think WWE's doing this not to get back at Rusev, but just to prove like we could do this in our sleep.
Listen,
it's working.
Anybody, it could be you.
I thought Lana looked real good in the match too. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I thought she looked good. She looked really competent in there. More competent and also confident.
Then you're gonna say finish the line.
Then what? Then she used to be.
Oh, I thought he was gonna say the Nia Jax.
Oh.
I was waiting for it. I was waiting for Boom to drop.
She did look better than Nia in this match, but with Nia, it almost seems as though like she has regressed to a very disturbing level of like, what in the hell has happened to you? But Nia, once you get the MAGA vibes on you, it's over.
Got that stank.
MAGA vibe is a career ender. It is. I'm sorry.
Got that stank on you. Gotta figure that out, girl.
Was there anything else on Raw? I don't think there was anything else. Next week,
I have tuned out of Raw, so we can wrap it up here.
Yeah, next week they haven't announced anything. I'm pretty sure we'll get a tag match or so. Oh, the Sheamus thing.
What Sheamus do?
I'm inclined to think that he's going to stay a face.
Ew. I mean, sometimes they do that.
This might be pot of shame. This might be literally we're going to go back to this, and you're going to hear me say this, and I'm going to be like, oh,
nah, you might be right.
I'm inclined to think he's a face because one, he's been a heel for so damn long.
Yeah, you might be right.
And two, I think him and Drew just work so well together. I think the story is that if Sheamus keeps getting the short end of the stick and Drew's ignoring it, that's going to cause him to turn. But I think that's just going to be the red herring.
Guys with accents, dudes they're going to be 2/3 of a guy walks in a bar joke. That's what they're going to be.
Wow, I keep the fucking the Bane coat on. I would love that. I really like that. Meelz, we are in December, so of course it is best of month. We should be at least preparing for our best of list. Can we go ahead and put that on the books here on the air?
Yeah,
right now?
What was it? 22nd, 29th. Oh, sorry, 23rd, 30th. Got a little
Yeah, 23rd and the 30th.
booking in
23rd and the
4D over
30th.
there.
We're gonna have.
Sorry.
Yeah, those are the 2 weeks we should do it. 23rd and the 30th, part 1, part 2 of our best of
It's always
list
a two-parter.
on the A show. Always a 2-parter. Always great. Always fun. I don't know. I don't have the categories here, but next week we will have the categories, and we're gonna be telling you guys what we're gonna be we're gonna be looking at. It's a bit of a weird year, not gonna lie, but we're gonna make the best of it, and essentially try and run down the weirdest wrestling year of all time. But we're gonna make it a lot more positive than we've seen throughout the year. So stay tuned for that, but also stay tuned to the Rewriters Room. New episode came out this week on Becky Lynch. We miss Becky. So this is an episode that's near and dear to our heart. What if Becky Lynch did a lot of things? Okay, I don't want to spoil it. Okay, I don't want to spoil the episode for you. But the Becky Lynch episode of Rewriters Room is out. Shout out to Armand and the gang. We also have the War Report, which I will be on this week on Friday. I don't know.
Good luck. I mean, good luck. Good luck over there. It's a challenge. It's back next week, by the way. I'm just letting everybody know.
Wow. Okay. Well, it's the challenge is back, so that would mean that Meelz is back on his BS for the challenge.
Wednesday nights
I gotta watch this for Leo.
Yeah,
I gotta watch for Leo. Is he on the first episode?
He better be, because listen, I'll tell you that. Watch. You won't have to watch for long. That's all I'll say. But
Okay.
yeah, definitely watch for that. Let's see what else that we got going on. What else did I wanted to say something? Oh, boom. We should be promoting our shows, but I want to know, did you hear that Renee Young clip from the first episode of her podcast?
No, I've largely cut her from my life.
Really? Why? Renee is such a great person. Anyway, did you hear that John Moxley talked about the time where he snorted up a line of coke and then went to the library to read books? He said that.
But I'm not shocked.
He said that. Just bullface. He's like, what's one thing that they probably don't know about you? Or something along those lines. And it was just, snorted up a line and went to the library and started reading books.
Well, I'm glad he can admit that now.
Right? Doesn't it feel freeing? That must be what AEW is all about. Liberation.
Wellness.
Not wellness at all, baby.
Wellness policy.
Let's wrap it up.
Well, yeah, that is the week in wrestling for Meelz and I. Thank you guys for listening. We are in the last stretch of 2020, thank God. But that does not mean that you should not follow us at A Show RNC on Twitter. Follow me at OGJohnny5 and follow Meelz at Meelz TV. Until next time, thank you guys for listening to the A Show. See you next week.